Alysa Liu wasn't even inside the building 10 minutes before the most critical performance of her life was set to begin. It was opening week of the 2026 Milano Cortina Winter Olympics, and the tension around Team USA was suffocating. This was meant to be the cinematic moment, the grand, triumphant return. The exact second the burnout prodigy finally proved the entire world wrong and took back her crown. But instead of locking in or visualizing her routine in a quiet warm-up zone, she was stuck in the back of a van. A massive vice presidential motorcade had gridlocked the ancient streets of Milan, leaving the United States. National champion trapped in security hell, while her fiercest rivals were already inside lacing up. In the high-stakes pressure cooker of elite, Olympic figure skating, where a fraction of an inch on a blade separates glory from heartbreak routine, is everything. Most athletes would have arrived sobbing, watching their lifelong dreams dissolve in Italian traffic. But when Alysa finally kicked open those heavy arena doors with literally minutes to spare, she wasn't hyperventilating. She wasn't panicking. She was laughing. She laced up in a blur, skipped the critical 6-minute warm-up, and stepped right into the spotlight. And what she did next destroyed every preconceived notion of what an Olympian should look like. She threw down a short program so intensely joyful, so defiantly brilliant, that it silenced every critic in the building. When she went up for her signature double axel and wobbled on the landing, she didn't cringe. She didn't look at the judges like a scared child begging for forgiveness. Instead, she flashed this funky, unbothered look. Later, when reporters frantically asked her about the mistake, she just shrugged, flashed that trademark grin and said, "Oopsie." That oopsie wasn't just a quirk. It was a manifesto, a revolution broadcast to millions. It told the world that the Alysa standing on that ice in Milan is a radically different human than the broken teenager who vanished 4 years ago. She isn't just back to win medals, she is back to reclaim her life. And it turns out, when you stop chasing the scoreboard and start loving the art, you become unbeatable. To really grasp the magnitude of Alysa Liu's gold medal return, you have to rewind the tape. You have to stare into the exhausted eyes of the girl who cast a massive shadow over the sport as a child. Before she was the unapologetic rebel queen of Milan, Alysa was the ultimate project of the American skating machine. Born in Clovis, California and raised in the cutthroat, world of Bay Area figure skating, Alysa was built to be a weapon. Her father, Arthur, famously poured over $1 million into her career before she even hit high school. Her entire existence was engineered for the podium. By 12, she was the youngest skater ever to land a triple axel internationally. By 13, she did the unthinkable, becoming the youngest US national champion in history, shattering Tara Lipinski's 22-year record. She was the chosen one, the golden child with the perfect braids, tasked with saving American skating from the Russian juggernauts. But behind the velvet curtains and sequins, the prodigy was suffocating. Her childhood was a brutal grid of 5 a.m. alarms, bone-chilling ice times, and homeschooling in the backseat while stuck in California traffic. She was a vibrant extrovert trapped in a world of profound isolation. A bubble protected her from peers, but threw her to the wolves on the internet, where critics dissected every jump, every meal, and every growth spurt. By the time she reached the 2022 Beijing Olympics at just 16, she was a shell. The Ice Princess facade was crumbling. She was landing joint-crushing quads for a sport she had come to loathe. While the world watched her take 6th place on the biggest stage, Alysa was internally counting down the seconds until she could quit. She wasn't fighting for the podium in China. She was fighting for the exit. Just weeks later, after a bronze at Worlds, she shocked the globe and walked away. The 16-year-old prodigy didn't just walk away from the only life she ever knew. She sprinted in the opposite direction for 2 solid years. Her custom high-dollar blades sat gathering dust in the darkest corner of her closet. In raw, gut-wrenching interviews later on, Alysa admitted she went months without even knowing where they were. Critics called it the lost era of Alysa Liu. To her, it wasn't a loss. It was the first time in 20 years she actually found herself. She did everything the stiff, pearl-clutching skating establishment forbade. She hit the road for wild, unplanned trips with regular friends who couldn't tell a salchow from a Lutz. She enrolled at UCLA as a psych major. Finally tasting the messy, beautiful social life she'd been robbed of for a decade, she backpacked all the way to Nepal. She trekked up to Everest Base Camp, trading the sterile, refrigerated air of the rink for the thin, biting oxygen of the Himalayas. She played pickup volleyball and tennis, moving her body for the sheer joy of it. No judges, no scorecards. During that sabbatical, she aggressively took back her identity. Figure skating is obsessed with a rigid, conservative aesthetic. Alysa torched that rulebook. She dyed bold, unapologetic platinum raccoon stripes into her hair. She got a smiley piercing tucked right behind her upper lip. She rocked an alt-Gen Z style that would have given a Soviet-era coach a heart attack. She was living her best life, fully convinced she'd never step onto competitive ice again. She later told the press she low-key hated the sport. She wanted zero part of the corporate machine that stole her youth. But in early 2024, something shifted. It wasn't a desperate beg from the US Federation. It wasn't a fat contract offer. It was just a casual ski trip with friends. Carving down the mountain, feeling that biting wind and raw adrenaline, her gears started turning. She realized something huge. She didn't hate the ice. She missed the dopamine. She missed flying. The skating itself wasn't the problem. She hated the toxic, suffocating system built around it. So she hit up a local public rink, dodging wobbly toddlers just to see if the muscle memory was there. She laced up her beat-up boots, stroked down the ice, and nailed a perfect double axel. That one jump lit the fuse on an absolute inferno. But this time, the rules of engagement were changing completely. If Alysa Liu returned, it wouldn't be on her dad's schedule or for the Federation's medal count. It would be 100% on her terms, her music, her wild costumes. A healthy mindset putting joy over the podium. The 2025 season was supposed to be a warm-up, a chance to see if she could hang with the elite after years of pizza and frat parties. Instead, it turned into a scorched earth campaign of technical brilliance and raw emotion. At the 2025 World Championships in Boston, all eyes were on the unstoppable Japanese squad. Nobody expected Alysa Liu, who had been back training for less than 12 months, to threaten for gold. Then she took the ice. She threw down a personal best short program that stunned the field. She skated with a depth and maturity her drilled younger self never had. She wasn't begging for scores, she was sharing art. Her free skate was a revelation. She became the first American woman in 19 agonizing years to take the world title, snapping a drought dating back to 2006. But the real story wasn't the gold hanging around her neck. It was her reaction in the kiss and cry. She sobbed not from relief of meeting expectations, but from pure pride in what she created. She took her sport back from the demons. She told reporters, "Point-blank medals don't define her. I validate myself through my art," she proclaimed. And just like that, Alysa 2.0 was born. The skater who treats the Olympics like her own personal Broadway stage and views the scoreboard as a total afterthought. Which lands us right in the thick of the 2026 Milano Cortina Games, where the Blade Angels officially achieved world domination. That nickname didn't come from a marketing meeting. It grew organically in a group text between Alysa Amber Glenn and Isabel Levito. It was their badge of sisterhood in a cutthroat, isolating sport that usually thrives on bitter locker room rivalries. Together, they've morphed into the most hyped, culturally significant trio in the history of American skating. A squad of unapologetic rebels who refused to squeeze into that outdated cookie-cutter ice princess mold. During the high-stakes Olympic team event earlier this month, Alysa was the pulsing electric heartbeat of the American squad. Despite the absolute chaos of a VP motorcade delay and zero physical warm-up, her spectacular second-place short program snagged Team USA 9 pivotal momentum-shifting points. She skated with a wild, infectious freedom. When Team USA stood atop the Olympic podium to accept their repeat gold in the team event, Alysa was the one leaping the highest, screaming the loudest, and living entirely in the moment. Then came the now legendary medal scandal. In her sheer unbridled excitement, she bounced around so aggressively that the heavy gold medal literally snapped off its official ribbon and slammed onto the hard arena floor. "It got very scratched up, pretty dented," she quipped in a viral interview, laughing off her own clumsiness. Mortified Olympic officials stepped in politely, offering to take back the damaged hardware and swap it for a pristine fresh one from the vault. Alysa looked them in the eye and pushed back. She flat out refused, telling the bewildered suits she actually liked the metal better broken off the ribbon. She felt a deep connection to those imperfections. To her, that dented, battered, scratched-up piece of gold was a perfect reflection of her career arc. It wasn't pristine. It wasn't perfect. It was a little roughed up, but it was 100% undeniably real. That single authentic moment endeared her to millions of young fans worldwide who were completely burnt out on the overly polished robotic PR narratives we get force-fed every 4 years. Tonight, February 19th, 2026 marks the climax of the Winter Games. Alysa Liu hits the ice for the women's individual free skate. The stakes. They are as high as they can possibly get in the sports world. but peek backstage while her rivals from Japan and South Korea pace nervously, staring blankly at the floor, crumbling under the crushing weight of their national federations. You'll find Alysa Liu casually clutching a Pachita plushie from Chainsaw Man, slurping udon noodles, and chatting with her coaches about her favorite TV shows. Tonight is the moment of truth. She is the reigning world champ. She is the Grand Prix final winner. She is the overwhelming, undeniable favorite to end a 24-year drought for American women's gold. A curse that has haunted the US ever since Sarah Hughes shocked the world in Salt Lake City back in 2002. But as the announcer bellows her name, Alysa Liu isn't thinking about the national anthem. She isn't thinking about the history books. She's thinking about the hype. She glides to center ice. The arena drops to a dead silence. She strikes her starting pose and does something nobody expects. She exhales a long, deep cleansing breath. Her new free skate program is a raw, unfiltered reflection of her newfound agency. She didn't skate to some mournful, tragic classical concerto designed to beg the judges for artistic points. She stepped out in a shimmering, edgy gold dress to the booming, unapologetic disco beats of Donna Summer's MacArthur Park Suite. It was bold. It was weird. It was groovy, packed with synths and horns, and it was absolutely magnificent. The technical breakdown that followed was a marvel of biomechanical efficiency and mental steel. She didn't attempt the bone-crushing quadruple jumps that had once destroyed her teenage body and fractured her mind. Instead, she focused ruthlessly on absolute supreme quality of execution. Every single one of her 7 triple jumps landed with buttery, effortless flow, earning massive grade of execution bonus points from the stunned panel. Her spins were dead center. Her footwork sequences were blazingly intricate. And her artistry scores were the highest of her entire career. But the real undeniable magic of this Olympic performance happened in the negative space between the elements. Between jumps, Alysa was actively engaging with the 12,000 screaming fans. She was locking eyes with the front row. She was performing for the people, not at the judges. BBC commentators noted live that she looked like she was having the absolute time of her life. A phrase rarely used to describe the suffocating terror of an Olympic final. This unbothered, radically joyful energy was her ultimate superpower. She had successfully found a way to be the world's best athlete without letting the pursuit consume her soul. As the final triumphant chords of Donna Summer's anthem faded into the rafters of the Milano Arena and Alysa struck that last exultant pose, you could feel the destiny in the air. The place went absolutely ballistic. 12,000 fans turned that stadium into a white-hot cauldron of noise. Alysa pumped her fists, head thrown back, drinking in the deafening roar of a crowd that knew they'd just seen history made. Then the Jumbotron flashed the verdict, a monster season-best free skate of 150.22, bringing her total to an untouchable 226.79. It finally sank in. The oopsie queen was gone. The undisputed Olympic queen had arrived. She hadn't just survived the onslaught from the Japanese dynasty, she had officially shattered a 24-year American curse. But forget the medal count, she just completed the most insane, inspiring, full-circle comeback in Winter Games history. With this win, Alysa Liu didn't just copy the abusive robotic playbook that's choked the sport for the last 20 years. She didn't win by starving herself overtraining until she broke or operating on pure fear. She won by being the rawest, most authentic human being on that ice. Her victory signals a massive seismic shift in the very foundation of figure skating. It proves that longevity, personal agency, and mental health aren't just nice-to-haves. They are lethal competitive weapons. That gold medal is a siren screaming to every burnt-out young athlete suffocating under the pressure she felt at 16. It says you can walk away. It says you're allowed to have a rich, vibrant life outside the rink or the court. It says your worth as a human isn't tied to a score sheet, a medal count, or landing an axel. The United States Federation, who once treated 13-year-old Alysa like a calculated business asset to be managed, now has to look at this 20-year-old woman as their absolute savior. Yet standing at the summit of the sports world, Alysa is still hilariously, radically humble. She told reporters in the mixed zone that the highlight of her historic night wasn't the gold around her neck. It was celebrating wild with her friends, hugging her rivals, and grabbing late-night pizza with her siblings in Italy. She is the first truly relatable GOAT in modern skating history. For Alysa Liu, success in Milan isn't about the heavy hardware hanging on her chest. It is entirely about the autonomy she fought tooth and nail to take back. She showed the world that greatness isn't measured by how much pain you can swallow in silence. It is measured by your bravery to choose. She chose to quit when it was killing her. She chose to return for the joy of it. She picked her music, her coaches, and rocked that wild hair on her own terms. And in the end, the judges picked her. Standing on that podium in the heart of Italy, watching the flag rise and hearing the anthem, she didn't look like some polished machine drained of its humanity. She looked like a girl who lived 1,000 lives in 20 years and finally found the one that fit perfectly. Alysa Liu didn't just win gold in Milan, she won her life back. She proved to a generation of kids that the most graceful, rebellious power move you can make on ice isn't a quad jump. It is the uncompromising decision to be yourself. The 2026 Games will be remembered for the rebel queen who changed the sport's DNA forever. Milan belongs to her. The drought is dead, and Alysa Liu is exactly where she chose to be.